I'd like to officially welcome everyone who's here and those that will be arriving. I've had 20 RSVPs. I know it's the holiday season. Some people have to scoot out early. Some people are like, oh my gosh, I got to catch the recording, but it's all going to be recorded. And I'm really excited to share what I have to share tonight. Hi, Shannon. So what I wanted to do is start with some introductions in the chat while you are coming in. Hold on, there's people in the waiting room. How do I get to this? Oh, enter the waiting room. Oh, here we go. Admit and admit. Got it. All right. So if you could put in the chat your name, where you're from, what's your passion, purpose, or profession, and how long have you been in my orbit? And if you're new, welcome, welcome. All right, let's try this again. Great. All right. All right. Hi, Deb. Good to see you again. Let's see. Hi, Thelma, Lisa, Jen, Lara. So we're taking a moment as people settle in to do some introductions in the chat. You can put your name in here so we can connect the shares with the name. Let me let some more people in. Can everyone see the slide? Just give me a nod.
Yes.
Yeah, so please put in the chat your name, where you're from, what's your passion, purpose, or profession? How long have you been in my orbit? And if you're brand new, welcome. And I thought it'd be nice, since I sent out an email that said that I wanted to share my findings and hear your input from women like you. I know all of you, but you don't know each other. So I thought it'd be a nice way to begin seeing what you have in common and who's gathered here. Okay. And then you can sort of look at the photos and the names and connect some dots. Let's see.
Sonia, I cannot remember how many years I've been with you.
I know, right?
Is it like 8 or 10 or what?
Yeah, it's been a journey, huh? Let's see.
I'm gonna say 10.
I don't know. I mean, and then I think Jen and Nahareen, we're talking Catherine, decades, a long time. We've traveled these journeys together, and Thelma, yeah, it's been great. Special women. Let's see who we have here. I love reading these because I know you all, but it's nice to see that. Okay. Thelma, Lisa, Trisha. Mom and filmmaker, yeah. Hey, Deborah Wilshire, got 2 Debs. Deborah, I'm glad you're here. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't need to admit anybody else. Oh. So Deborah, if you can see the slide, I think you just got here, having everyone check in the chat so we can connect your name, where you're from, what's your passion, purpose, or profession, and how long have you been in my orbit? Okay. So for those of you who are just arriving, in case you didn't get a chance to read my email, this will be recorded. I'm looking forward to sharing some thoughts and ideas and receiving your input on some stuff I'm really excited about. And I appreciate all of you. It was really quite thrilling to receive your responses, and especially during the holiday season. I know it's a busy time. So thank you for being here. So this is a gathering for women like you, and it's all about illuminating new possibilities. I think, well, I know all of you know me. So I've been supporting accomplished professional women to find the fulfillment that's missing despite seemingly having it all for 27 plus years now. And everything has kind of coalesced very recently. And I'll just say that I've had a leadership, what I'm calling a collaborative leadership development experience in me for years and years that I've wanted to offer. And the time has come. And after some informational interviews, that's even been reinforced even more. So I just really wanted to share with you what I discovered and some opportunities that I'm offering in the new year. All right, let's see if we can get these to go. Let me move this around a little bit. Okay, I can see this. All right, so as I mentioned in the email, I recently completed some in-depth informational interviews, and I had pretty much one primary question. So what I wanted to know was, regarding your sense of personal power, your leadership, and your relationships, what is your most burning problem, deepest desire, or information gap that you long to fill? And this is because this leadership training that's been alive in me for a long time, I wanted to know that it just wasn't my idea. And I know, Trisha, you and I've talked about this. I have this idea, but like, is it real, or is it just in my imagination? And through these interviews, I discovered what I believe is it's not my imagination. There really is an information gap. So that was what I wanted to know. And I wanted to share what I heard, but I wanted for it to be not just like me telling you what I heard, but I wanted to see even more with this group of women if it really is relevant to you. Okay, so this is an exercise I wanted to ask you to all participate in. If you have a little piece of paper or you just want to use your fingers, I'm going to illuminate the 6 themes that I heard over and over again. And if it feels relevant to you, just put a little chicken hash mark. Okay, so we're going to count to see how many of these feel relevant to you. Okay, so regarding your sense of personal power, leadership, and relationships, does this feel relevant to you in terms of it being a place, an area of life where you would like to feel more fulfilled or more empowered? Number 1, would you like to feel as powerful as you look on paper? I commonly heard that women intellectually know they're amazing and they have all of these accomplishments to show for it and skills, but they don't feel it as much as they know it. So that's the first one, hash mark if that feels relevant to you. There's a desire to make a bigger impact, a longing, a call, a push within. And besides wanting to make a bigger impact, to also like know it in their bones, I'm making an impact. I'm making the impact I want to make. Number 3, I want to believe and demonstrate that I'm truly capable of being the leader I want to be. So some of the people I talk to consider themselves leaders. Some of them actually want to be more of a leader, take more of a leadership role, but actually also like a thing that came up a lot is imposter syndrome. That's something that I encounter a lot in my conversations. So if it's about believing in yourself, demonstrating it, really going to that next level that you feel is within you, that's another one. And welcome, Mary. So I'm going to quickly bring you in. If this feels relevant to you, just make little hash marks on a piece of paper or count it on your fingers, because we're seeing how many women here have these in common. Okay, the next one, I long to feel and be valued, wanted, appreciated, and compensated in alignment with the above. Many of this, there is some degree. So this is about, is it more like, is this feeling of I haven't arrived, there's further I want to go. And so that shows up whether it's in compensation, but it's really more about feeling valued, feeling wanted, feeling appreciated, knowing it. And then of course the compensation is a reflection of that. The next one is I want to feel and be supported in a meaningful, enriching, and empowering way. There was a common thread in my conversations where, especially in work, the people want you to step into leadership, but the support isn't there. So this is about receiving support, feeling support, being supported in a way that is just those words, meaningful, enriching, and empowering. It's like really, really there. And the final one is, I want to experience greater harmony. And I came up with this term, this wasn't the language that I heard, and reciprocal benefit between my personal and professional life. And that spoke to this feeling of imbalance. A lot of energy going into work, concerns about it affecting, not being available for your personal life, whether it's family, kids, just time to hang out and be, whether it's romantic. There wasn't this like my personal life benefits my work life and my work life benefits my personal life, that there's a harmony between the two. Okay. So those are the 6 themes. I'm starting to give it a name. I'm still playing around with the language, but what it's sounding like to me is that these are the 6 fulfillment opportunities that accomplished professional women have yet to fully embrace. That's kind of what's showing up for me. So with that, I'd love it if you'd all share in the chat how many of these resonated for you. Just put a number in there. That would be helpful to me. And you can also see among this group that there's where there's a commonality and what you have in common. Okay. All right, so quite a bit. This is really, I really appreciate your input, because as I said, I wanted to make sure that this isn't just in my own inner world. Okay, great. Well, thank you. So I look forward to sharing more about this now that I know we're on the same page. So with that, my conclusion from the interviews I did, and then this is actually reinforcing it, is number 1, you're not alone. Number 2, there are unmet needs here among this population. And number 3, I have ideas and solutions to fill this gap. I've had these ideas for a long time, but now I'm extra excited to share them because I know that they really are needed. So I think before I get into the ideas, I really want to talk about my story, because this points to why these unmet needs exist. And the bottom line is that these needs exist because we are products of our environment, and there are common factors in these environments that have reinforced certain things and malnourished other things. And that's where the unmet needs are. So as you hear my story, I would really encourage you to be thinking about your story, okay? Because this is going to help illuminate the unmet needs as well as the solutions. So this is a picture of me and my mom and my dad when I was a baby. And my parents are from Argentina, and my father received a scholarship to MIT for electrical engineering, was dating my mom in Argentina, and they were apart for 2 years and 4 months and were married by proxy. She came over, and then I was born. So I'm a first-generation American. And here on the other side, there's a picture of my dad, me with the headgear, short hair, my sister and my brother on a vacation in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So, and I put that picture in because part of what this represents to me is a theme in my life, which was, for me, my father ended up being the dominant parent, the one that I sort of sided with. And my mother, who was very involved as a mom and a volunteer at school and Girl Scouts and stuff like that, for a variety of reasons, I ended up basically rejecting her internally. Now, they represented 2 ends of a continuum. So my mother I ended up regarding as really emotionally all over the place. So she was kind of emotionally unsafe for me. And my father was the other end of the continuum. I like to refer to him as Mr. Spock. He was all logic and reason. And that ended up feeling safer for me. Not to mention that because I sided with him, I also started to internalize his judgments about my mom. And one of the statements he said to me, which I'll never forget, was, "Don't be emotional like your mother." And because I felt like I needed to side with my father to feel safe, of course, this was all unconscious. I unconsciously rejected not only my mom, but my entire emotional being. And my father was the voice of, you can be and do anything. So I became a really great achiever. And so I did. I got good grades, and I got my business degree. I traded stocks and bonds. I was assistant vice president at the age of 24. I left that because I was dying a spiritual death in the brokerage industry. And I went to the other coast from Massachusetts to California. I got my master's in social work. And what I sort of realized was that the first 25 years of my life, I was seeking some sort of fulfillment with whatever I had. It was basically instinct. And I was pursuing it by achieving and doing well in the physical world, because I got a lot of validation and attention and pats on the back and a sense of self-worth and self-esteem for all that I could do. Meanwhile, in my 20s, I was experiencing self-loathing. I had an eating disorder. I was terrified of men. I had crappy relationships with men. I mean, I was lucky to get a second date. I was just a very unhappy person. And that's when I embarked on therapy, personal development. And I like to say that there was this moment of truth in the brokerage firm where I just, realized I'm dying a spiritual death here. I don't even know who I am. What do I want to be when I grow up? And that's when I just stopped all of the seeking in the external world for answers. And I did a deep dive into the invisible world of consciousness, therapy, spirituality, you name it. If it wasn't out there, if it was in here, I studied it. So many of you know that story. And so, that brings me to who I am today with this practice that's supporting women like me. I had a coach that said, your ideal client is a version of you. And now bringing together what didn't work, what does work, and illuminating these unmet needs. All right. So that's a little bit of my story. So as you were listening to it, I'm kind of curious. I'd like to have you think a little bit about what stood out for you in your own story. What conclusions did you come to, whether it was from your personal upbringing or perhaps from the time in history that we live in? So we are on the heels of multiple waves of the women's movement. Some of you I've met through this organization that I studied in, the Sterling Institute of Relationship, and 10 years in an international organization called the Family of Women. And the teacher who taught this women's empowerment event said something that I never forgot. And he says, as women that are products of the women's movement in, the 1900s, many of you are what he would call the lost generation. And you are women who would rather be like your fathers than your mothers. And I was certainly one of those. There were a lot of women that came from the home, but then women had to fight to enter a world made by men for men. And so what I've come to see is that in order to do that, there really wasn't a feminine model of power in corporate America. It was, if we're going to get to these opportunities, we need to enter this world and fight. And so without that something, that feminine model of power, many powerful, wonderful things became available to us. But I believe that, and this has been my passion, is we've outgrown fighting for our rights, and it's time to elevate the conversation, stand for the common good, and integrate and incorporate both the masculine and the feminine. And we're not talking about gender, but we are talking about an expanded view, an expanded context for a model of power that incorporates both the masculine and the feminine. And I strongly believe that this fulfillment piece that's missing is because we haven't fully embraced that opportunity. And in my 27 years, I've learned and experimented with a number of things that women are truly starting to tap into fulfillment with these concepts that I've been, playing with and experimenting with, that are starting to touch on this feminine model of power. So if you would maybe just throw something in the chat, I'd love to hear, what are some conclusions that you came to as a product of your environment, whether it's upbringing, whether it's time in history, whatever it is, about what is required for you to be valued? Where does your power lie? What does it take to be successful? And what does it take to be seen, heard, supported, and believed in? So I know these are big questions, but this is just like I said, this calls about illuminating new possibilities and raising awareness. So anything that you want to put in the chat. These are kind of big existential questions. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
You want us to answer these in the chat?
Yeah, throw in even one, like what stood out for you when I told my story? Just what stood out for you when I told my story? These are the big questions, but whatever popped into your awareness about, like, oh yeah, I'll just share a common one I hear is, yeah, my sense of value and worth comes from what I do, or I learned to believe that I have to earn in order to be valued. Those are some things I hear. My sense of value definitely comes from my work. Now, normally this would be a big, wonderful, juicy conversation, but I really wanted to honor that it's the holidays. So I decided to do it in a way that we can connect, but keep the time short tonight. I often calculate my value based on how well I'm doing with my professional pursuits. If I can have it all, I need to do it all. Be powerful, but not dominant. What do I require to be valued, heard, and appreciated? My power lies in my resilience and strength and ability to chase details. Wow. Work and quality of work, being the best at whatever you do. We're always valued in my family. I spent years letting that go. I can definitely relate to value coming from work. When I love myself wholeheartedly, when I live loved, I feel valued. It's an internal thing. Yes, and that is something you have put your attention and focus on connecting with, right, Thelma? Yeah. Yeah. My power lies in my relationship with myself. Love hearing these answers. This is great. So let's see here, raised in a home where women are not valued. I found my value from doing things for others especially through my clients' feedback. Okay. So I actually I wasn't sure, I've never done this particular call before. So I wanted to ask a couple of the women that I have worked with, maybe to share just a little bit. These are some women that have been working with these ideas and concepts for a while. So I have, let's see, Shannon and Thelma and Catherine. If you wanted to share a little bit about, as you have been exploring some of these ideas, could you share a little bit about what new possibilities have awakened for you? I actually thought I'd start with Catherine because you're the newest, and then we'll hear from some long timers. So is your mic open? I didn't mute anyone.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So what possibilities have come alive for me since working with you? Well, to give a little bit of context, I met Sonia 20 years ago, but I've only been doing work with Sonia for the last 4 or 5 months. And I'll answer your question, but to give a little bit of context, I came into this, I am an overachiever. I know how to do the grind. I know how to go for the goal. I'm pretty type A. And when I came to Sonia, I was definitely like, I need to get my health back. And she was like, well, what about your relationships or your business? And my response to her was, I can't focus on that. My business is good. My relationships are fine. I've lost my health. My business has been growing. And so now that I've gone through the Focus and Flourish program, I have really, really learned that if I take these micro moments and I focus in on me, it's really an inside job. So the quality of my relationships are definitely much better. My business has definitely grown. The money has come, like all these things that I was like, no, I don't need more of that. I really need my health. It's been fascinating. It's not been fascinating. It's been a blessing to watch that as I've taken the time to focus more on myself and remove myself from the grind of just go, 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 and taken moments to pause and recalibrate and get centered, that how much of the busy, let me accomplish, let me get this done and handled and managed has either been resolved on its own or gone by the wayside. And then those things that I do need to focus my energy, I definitely have been able to do that. But out of that has given me the gift of time to take care of myself. And in taking care of myself, all these other areas that I was really interested in growing or what have you, I don't want to say it's effortless, but it is effortless in the sense the hard part for me has not been to get in and like push through and make it more complicated. It's really been about, having a different perspective, that slowing down and being more mindful. I think Sonia has, do what is right in front of you, and you're always receiving. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am always receiving, but now I'm receiving a lot of the goodness of what is important to me or what I value.
Thank you, Catherine. That was great to hear what people are practicing and receiving. I had Shannon, but I think, are you here? Yep, Sharon had to hop off. However, we have Thelma. So Thelma, do you want to share you've been working with me for a longer chunk of time?
Yeah, I have. And I've actually gone through a couple of your Focus and Flourish. Again, like Catherine, given some context, the first time through the Focus and Flourish, you had me focus on feeling supported and feeling supported more from life. Kind of a bigger context. I think everything that I had done with you was feeling supported from life, and that changed a lot of things for me in my work environment where it came to sales. I have a sales role, so just feeling that support, and also I guess it really was an internal job in me being able to feel. a lot of times I would come to you as to, I don't know how that feels. I have no point of reference on how that feels, right? So I really had to take note of how things feel. So I guess for me, the growth has been a lot about feeling, because that first focus and flourish was about support. And then the second wave of focus and flourish was about my relationship with life. And so feeling supported, feeling safe, feeling loved. I mean, to be able to feel love from life versus somebody next to you or a physical person, to me was really different. Like I could wake up in the morning and go for a walk and think, life created this day for me, right? And that was really special. But when I would have moments of life is faithful, right? When my quarters were bad, but now it's like I'm overexceeding my year as we come to the end of the year. Life is faithful, having that. But the biggest one for me was also life is generous. That one was really big. And I continue to believe in that and continue to feel that internally. And so I guess for me, it was a lot about feeling all of this internally, feeling my value, feeling my own power, and experiencing that myself.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, it's been wonderful to watch your journey. Yeah, thank you, Thelma.
Mhm.
So I know there's other wonderful stories here, a little bit and a lot. So I just want to keep going, but I wanted you to hear from some other women here. So all of this boils down to, what if you came to the wrong conclusion because you had incorrect or missing information? And that boils down to the conclusions of some of the things you've mentioned, where my value lies in my work. I have to earn it in what I produce. Again, based in a masculine model of power that we're so indoctrinated into that we don't even know that there's another alternative, which is what some of you are talking about. It's like, oh, I started to care about myself and my business grew. I started to feel my feelings and I started to trust in life rather than having to push hard to sell. And these big sales came in, like, oh, what if what I thought I needed to do to receive fulfillment and success and all of that was not actually about working harder, but something else. So what I wanted to do is talk about, and many of you are familiar with this, but what I'm doing today is I'm bringing this into the context of being and doing as it, as it relates to your sense of personal power and leadership and fulfillment. And this is really moving into those 6 areas of opportunity that we have yet to fully embrace, to fully tap into. So as many of you know, there's the doing model of power that we are familiar with, and the hunter is our mascot, our symbol for that. And the being model of power, which many of us are much less familiar with, is represented in the majestic tree. So I thought I'd do a really quick summary to distinguish these 2 models of power. Now, let me just say, it's not an either or thing. It's about understanding that the most powerful human beings on this planet are the ones who understand that there are these 2 models of power and become practiced in skill and accessing these 2 models of power, I like to say, at will, as needed for the situation at hand. So let's start with doing, because that's the most familiar. And we're going to contrast that with the model of power that's rooted in being. All right. So doing values productivity. We know all about that. Being values presence. And many of us we hear the word, but it's like, what is presence? And how could I ever be valued for it? How could I ever be productive? How could I ever be powerful? What is presence, right? That's just like, I don't even know, right? Meanwhile, just to be more specific, the tree, which is a being, just like we are human beings, hunts nothing, analyzes nothing, earns nothing, and receives from life all day, every day, everything it needs, and much of what it wants, if it wants anything. But it's abundance because life takes care of it. It doesn't have to go find anything like the hunter. That's how powerful the tree is. Not only that, but the tree impacts and influences the lands, the worlds around. It doesn't have to market itself. It just attracts the birds and the people and the winds that spread its fruits and its seeds. And then it populates in other places and its presence is felt. It's so powerful, so impactful. It's taken care of by life. That's what's available when we tap into that wisdom for ourselves. Doing problem solves. Being practices awareness. Two activities of the mind. We get lost in problem solving. We don't even understand usually how powerful awareness is when we learn to practice that. Doing thinks, being feels. When we are in doing mode and we've over relied on it, we've been trained that feeling is nothing but a liability. It gets in the way, it's messy and uncomfortable. How could that possibly be powerful? Doing takes action. What does the being do with the body? It experiences. You access your inner wisdom through sensing in the body. Many of you have heard the saying that all of your answers lie within. Nice idea, but most of the time we don't know how to actually access those answers if we have sort of shut off our being and put all of our attention in doing. Doing pursues, hunter, hunter, hunter. Being, like the tree, receives all day long. Receiving is its own skill, and it's the most natural thing in the world, but we have become disconnected from it. Doing is limited. What the doer, the hunter, can receive is limited to what it can do on its own in hunting mode. Maybe it'll collect some team members, but for the most part, it's all about what I can do. Very limited, focusing on the target. Being is expansive. It receives more than anything that you can do on your own, because like Thelma was saying, life is generous. Life always offers kindness if you can stay in that place of receiving. The doer is the sole provider. I provide for myself. The beer, life expands. Life provides. Life provides. I'm jumping around here. Doing works hard. Being is supported. Most of us either don't know how to ask for support, don't know how to receive support, or have learned that asking or needing support is a sign of weakness rather than a sign of strength. Doing operates in win-lose. The hunter must kill the woolly mammoth or it will die. Somebody's got to die. That's how business is set up: win-lose, profit, competition, which is on the next one. Being is win-win. If the tree wins, the birds win, the animals win, the leaves fall from the branches and nourish the ground wins, the human wins, we all get oxygenated. It's the grand unifier. It's a synthesizer of all of life. It's inclusive. Okay. It's also collaborative. Okay. It works with all that is around it. Same when we're in human being mode. The doer intends, so it's very much focusing out, and the being invites, where it's all invitation based, which is how we receive. So that is a whole lot of teaching in one slide. Just a nice summary. So the missing and incorrect information is this: most accomplished professional women have come to over-rely on the doing model of power because we didn't know any other way. We are products of our environment. And here's the punchline, which is you will never feel fulfilled or fully tap into your power within as long as you reject or neglect parts of yourself. And those parts of ourselves are the feminine or the being. Once again, when I talk about being and doing, we can also talk about feminine and masculine, but this is not about gender. We're beyond that on this planet. It's about feminine and masculine energies. And I will tell you, even though I've been really bringing my attention towards women, because that's what I've been attracting most of my career, 90% women consistently, I have been attracting men. I have male clients, and all genders feel feminine power. They love feminine power. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to send you a little video tomorrow in the recap, where you're going to hear about men who and their successes by practicing these being principles and feminine principles, and the results that they've gotten both in their inner sense of peace and fulfillment, and like their outer world, best-selling author, money coming in, all kinds of results. So it's very, very powerful. But we have to embrace these aspects of ourselves that have been either malnourished, rejected, or neglected. So one of the things that's brand new that I've come up with is a model for, so what is required to feel fulfilled? What is fulfillment anyway? And what I've boiled it down to is there's 3 facets to it. It's about being, which means you get to really relax into yourself. You get to come home to yourself. Because most of the time, when we have rejected parts of ourselves and are all about the doing, we don't know how to be with ourselves. We have no idea how to love ourselves. We're always trying to improve ourselves, become more of ourselves. We're at war with ourselves. This is about your relationship with yourself. So it's about coming home to yourself. How do you feel lovable, feel worthy, feel at peace, fall in love with yourself? So that's one aspect of fulfillment. Another aspect of fulfillment is about receiving more of what you want in life. When we are stuck in doing mode, it often keeps us in a state of survival, always after the next thing, working really, really hard, thinking that we have to do something before we can receive what we want, always trying to figure it out. When we tap into receiving from life, there's this ability to not only relax, but move into thriving, not just surviving, allowing life to provide, trusting in the flow of life. And then finally, the giving is about circulation. And that is what I'm pointing to today, is this new program. It's about, how do I make a bigger impact? How do I feel as powerful as I look on paper? How do I be the leader that I'm called to be? How do I give to my family and my business rather than one over the other? That harmonizing. So it's the capacity to give everything that we receive, to be a contribution. That is a huge part of what I have found us kind of women long for, to really be that contribution. So these are the 3 facets. And I identified what I'm calling the 5 assets for flourishing. So these are the non-negotiables in the feminine model of power that is required in order to feel fulfilled and to flourish. And these are not necessarily things that are in the workplace, that are talked about in a way that is about personal power and leadership. We hear about some of these things from a personal point of view, but how they actually contribute to your power and your fulfillment, not so much. So I've identified 5 things. And by the way, this is obviously going to be a work in development, but I've sat with this a long time. So these are kind of what come into focus. So they are sovereignty, space, and safety. Those are the 3 assets that make fulfillment within your own skin, like you just being you, a non-negotiable. So sovereignty is where you feel connected to the source of your own power, independent of the people and conditions in your world. That sovereignty comes from nurturing a relationship with yourself. Space is something most of us are very uncomfortable with. And yet you need space in order to nurture this relationship with yourself. And so what happens is when we think that we need to be doing all the time, if there's any space, if there's any quiet, we are very uncomfortable, because then we start to tap into being. We have feelings, we have experiences, we don't know what to do with ourselves. And yet space is the invitation. That's where we can become conscious of what we're receiving and be intentional about inviting more and better. So having a relationship with space, and then safety is everything, because if you don't feel safe, you can't be, you can't relax. You're in hypervigilance mode, you're defending, you're protecting. And so how do you create safety when the world feels unsafe, when the workspace feels unsafe? Well, we've learned to externalize our safety, trying to control things. And in the being part is when we internalize our safety. It's when we become the safest place in the world for ourselves. Self-care is all about taking care of our bodies, but also it's about learning to nurture yourself. And when I started working with some of you and all of my clients, when I start talking about your feelings and what are your needs and how do you nurture these needs, it's a foreign concept. We're like, and not only that, when you start to actually imagine that your feelings and your needs matter, I've found a lot of clients really start getting in touch with how much they hate their needs and their feelings. They hate them because they're uncomfortable. They are so disconnected from their nurturing. That is one of the casualties of this aspect of self being, we've rejected and judged these aspects because we didn't know any better. Okay, our own nurturers are products of their environment. This is not about blame. This is a planetary wide malnourishment. Okay. And finally, in order to really contribute the way we want to, support is a non-negotiable. It's one of the modules in the receive experience. It's really about understanding how to access support. And that is part of what makes us really become the fullest expressions of who we can be. Right. So that's the general model. So what I wanted to do is extend an invitation to a program that I've developed. It's downloaded very, very fast. And for this reason, I wanted to do this call so that I didn't have to waste people's time, my time or your time, with writing emails and that kind of stuff. I just wanted to create this informational opportunity. I'm going to do a really quick summary about this program that is called Alive with Purpose, Leave and Lead Through the Power of Your Presence. And these informational interviews didn't just give me the context and content that I'm talking about today, but also what would be like the ideal methodology, the ideal training, the elements that you would want would be the ideal support, that support factor. So I'm going to go over this, and just know that tomorrow I'm going to send all of these slides, the details. I'm going to send you a video with client celebrations. It's a short video that I compiled of both women and men who've been practicing these principles. So you can really, if you're newer to me, you'll really see the kinds of things that are possible. It's really so inspiring to me when we start to really tap into our wholeness and bring balance to the masculine and start to tap into the presence. So this is the overview for the whole program. You'll see this is CPR, context, purpose, and intended results. This is a tool, by the way, that I will be teaching in a portion of this this program. I can't even speak, the leadership development program. This tool allows you to lead from context as opposed to from agenda. It allows you to be a unifier as a leader versus dealing with all kinds of different energies, personalities, and points of view that can be problematic or distraction. This is just one tiny piece of the whole training, but just so you know, that's what this is. So the purpose for this program, first of all, this is a collaborative leadership development experience. And the purpose of this program is to fully bring to life all that you already are by exploring, practicing, and establishing practices and priorities that nurture the power of your presence everywhere in your life. The context is you already are all that you seek to be, do, and have. So there's nothing more to become. It's already within you. The tree is already the tree. It's a tree when it's a seedling that has yet to be planted and flourished. It's a tree when it's this big. It's a tree when it's this big. It's a tree when it's a majestic tree. Its presence grows in power and value through nurturing. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing to earn. There's nothing more to do. What this program is about is showing up. Okay. So the intended results are that you do feel as powerful as you look on paper and beyond, because you can't capture your power on paper. That you make the bigger impact that calls to your heart and soul. That you believe and demonstrate to yourself and others that you truly are capable of being the leader you want to be. That you be and feel valued, wanted, appreciated, and compensated in alignment with all of the above. That you feel supported in a meaningful, enriching, and empowering way. That you experience harmony and reciprocal benefit between your personal, typo, and professional life. And that you harmonize and balance your being and doing skills to experience your wholeness as being greater than the sum of your parts. That's synergy element. That's the overview. So I wanted to talk about the method, how this is going to happen. So this program is a microcosm of your real world macrocosm. So everything that arises in this experience, this program experience, will reveal blessings for you to bring forth into your unique sphere of influence. There will be role modeling. I and your peers will be modeling ways of being and leading. Whatever it is that you wish to emulate or that inspires you, it's because it already lives within you. So this is, again, bringing life to all that you already are. There will be role playing. There will be opportunities to practice ways of being in a safe environment to nurture your embodiment and the power of your presence. So this isn't going to just be intellectual. If you want to take this into your work or with your family or out there, however you want to in the world, you'll have a safe place to try things on for size. There will be one-on-one support from me. I'm calling these, so these are, a lot of this is going to be group stuff because it's not going to be a top-down sort of a training. It's going to be collaborative. I'll be holding the space. I'll be offering trainings, but there will be just as much time with each other in small groups and in large groups as there'll be training for me as well. So I'm going to be facilitating that. That's the collaborative part. But within that group time, there will be one-on-one support from me. And I'm calling these, I'm finding alternative language for the masculine. So the masculine is a mastermind. The masculine is a hot seat. We're going to have focused, flourishing spotlight sessions. So you'll be able to submit like a case study, a question that you have, and receive some spotlight attention within the group. And that will be catalyst for conversations and sharing too. I'm a big believer in the idea of synergy. So synergy is that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. That which lives in you is amplified and empowered through this nutrient-rich environment. Consciousness is contagious. So this program is by invitation or application only. Not anyone can do this. This is really for the type of women that are gathered here tonight and those that have said yes but needed the replay. So that's got that amplifying process. There will be guest experts. Some of you may be the guest experts. I'll be talking to you about that. There will be energy healings. I think most of you have experienced those with me, but if you haven't, I can answer more questions about that. It's been a favorite resource that many clients have enjoyed. And there will be retreats, which is where we will come together, those who want to. So that's the method. And here's the structure. There will be 4 sessions. And that was one of the things that I got from these conversations. So the first thing is, when I conceived of this training, in my heart of hearts, it was going to be like a year-long journey, because this stuff is deep and it's about embodiment, and it isn't just about the head. So it takes showing up over time to practice. But I also know that we are busy, and a year can feel like a really huge commitment unless you really know what you're getting into, you know, if this is a new for some of you. So what I did was I created small containers, all right, with the idea, the intention being that hopefully you will find so much value in this that you will want to travel this journey with the same group of women. Okay. However, each one is a standalone training, has its own standalone focus and value, and it will be open to others at times if it feels appropriate. And in that, there's tremendous value as well, because for those of us who are leaders, when you're working in your environment, you might have this collective team that's been working for a while, and then you hire somebody new. How do you integrate them, right? How do you let that all come together and elevate the collective? So there's always those microcosm, macrocosm opportunities. So the first session, and again, one of the reasons I wanted to have this call is it's time sensitive. I wanted you to have dates. So if you feel like you want to take a picture of this, tomorrow it's going to go out. The first session begins the week of January 28th. So the last week of January, and it goes for 12 weekly calls. And some of the trainings are already emerging, and I've got 2 more to develop, but they are awaken the power of your presence, impact your sphere of influence, strengthen the power of your presence by healing the feminine, amplify the power of your presence through nurturing, and there will be 2 more. So this whole session is about your presence is more powerful than your productivity. Session number 2 will be an in-person retreat, May 4th through the 7th. And we'll be going over the 5 assets of flourishing: sovereignty, space, safety, self-care, and support. We'll be together. It'll be amazingly powerful. This whole thing is about deepening the power of your presence through embodied experience. So it will include accommodations, it will include meals, and it'll include some fun surprises as well in terms of experiences. Session 3 is now going to be going into the tools of presence. This is how you take this embodied energy and direct it through your action in very powerful ways. So I will be teaching CPR. We'll be talking about negotiation, which is the action part of embodying and standing in your value, the compensation piece. Understanding your people, communication, circle process communication. You as the relationship guardian, the 3 elements, and goal setting, where we focus on the essence, so the form will come. And in January of 2024, that will be another retreat at the end. And that's going to be about leading. That's supposed to be with vision, not with fusion. Leading with vision, although maybe there's something to be said about fusion. Leading with vision for the year ahead. So you're going to be doing a CPR for yourself, your business, your life, whatever it is that you really want to claim a vision for. And of course, that's more to be determined. So that's going to be the general structure. And so here's the tuition. And I wanted to give some bonuses because everything is time sensitive. So this is how it's going to work. For session 1, which is the 3-month starting in January, it's $3,500. The first bonus is if you reserve your spot with $500, which is due December 31st, you will have a say in the day and time of our weekly calls, because The reason I'm asking for, I'm doing these incentive plans is it takes a lot to coordinate this when we have many women's schedules and then planning retreat. There's a lot of moving parts. So the more that I have the commitment sooner than later, that more that helps me. So that's the first one. The balance would be due before our first session in January. The second bonus is if you pay in full by the end of this month, you will receive a private clarity and momentum session, which I did a beta testing on this past year. The value is $9.95. So it includes a 90-minute intuitive insight session with me. You'll complete an assessment, whatever you want to do a deep dive around in your personal world. You will have that 90-minute session with me that'll give you a plan, whatever you need, and then also a private energy healing to clear any blocks around that. This program also includes an all-access pass to all of my curriculums. So we've got all kinds of things to support you. Nothing extra. Okay, it's all included. So that's the tuition, that's the bonuses. And I think I covered everything. And I didn't have the Q&A yet, but I have time now. So I want to thank you for being here. If you have to go, I will send you all of the details in an email tomorrow, and just email me or text me directly if you have any questions, if you have to hop off. But if you want to stick around, I have time and I'm happy to take any questions.
Can you go back to the agenda of all of the sessions?
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you wanted to say attend session 2,
Mhm.
is session 1 a prerequisite for that?
It is not. There we will be, that's a standalone experience, and we will be drawing upon principles and teachings from number 1, but you won't be lost if you don't attend it. You just won't be able to go as deep building upon it.
And then how much of the content that's in session 1 is also content that's been covered somewhere else?
Okay. There's going to be some overlap because receiving is one of the pieces. I would say, this is where I have to look at my notes again. I'm going to say it's about 60 to 70% new stuff and 30 to 40% building upon other concepts. So reviewing and going deeper.
And do you have pricing yet for the in-person retreat in Oregon?
Yes, we're looking at, because I've been talking to Heather about locations. So it's looking like it will also be $3,500. And it's going to include, as I said, accommodations, food. So you'll need to come up with your airfare and some other goodies as well. Does that answer your questions?
Thank you.
Right, thanks, Doug. Other questions?
Sonia, since I'm in Focus and Flourish, that feels like it would be way too much to do both while that's still going on.
I'm glad you asked, because I actually forgot to mention that. So there's going to be some women that overlap. So for those who are interested in this, who are in Focus and Flourish, what I wanted to offer was, if you want to switch over, because there's a lot of the structure is very similar, so you'll be able to get support. There's trainings which that doesn't have. Then you'll just get a credit for the amount you paid. It's just a prorated credit towards this. Yeah, so I'll talk to the Focus and Flourish women about that. Thanks, Lisa. Any other questions? I'm actually gonna.
Yeah, that's Maureen. Can you do session 3 and 4 without doing 1 and 2?
That's my intention. Yes. Just want to look here. Hold on a second. That was the way I've designed it. So the answer is yes. And by the time, why isn't this sticking? Okay. I just want to look at the teachings again. Yes, absolutely. Again, you'll have, you won't be building on some other things, but it's actually a standalone training as well. Both of them. I have less information on those because they're further off in the future. Anybody else?
Can you go back to session 1? What were the dates on that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So January 28th through April 23rd, and that just spans the weeks, but we don't have the day yet. Yeah. And then May 4th through the 7th. We picked these dates, and it's coming up soon because trying to stay away from graduation season. Because once that hits, and then I've got a big trip planned in the summer.
Sonia, do you have a number for the group? Like how big you want the group? How small you want the group?
Originally, I thought about making up a number, but then I decided I'm going to just trust how it unfolds because I'll know. It's like I'll know. So my commitment is to be guardian of the group and the space so that the quantity does not impact the quality of the experience. So at this point, I don't have a hard number. But it isn't going to be like it's not going to be huge. It's designed to be more intimate. I'll put it that way. It's supposed to be an intimate experience. Just checking the chat if there was anything I missed here. Okay. Does everyone feel complete for now? Okay. All right. So I will send out that email tomorrow, and just feel free to text me or email me, and we'll take it from there. So I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for your contribution to this idea, your input, your verification. That's a really important part. You've helped me really verify that this is a real thing. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how it unfolds. All right. Have a great night. I'll be in touch. Bye-bye. Mm-hmm.